Hey YouTube, welcome back to Digital Box Tuts. Today we're going to look at styling our basic web page. To style our basic web page we use CSS, Cascading Style Sheet. So let's get started with CSS. There are three forms of CSS. There's Inline CSS, Internal CSS and External CSS. We'll be looking at all three of these. Inline CSS is when we use CSS in the element itself. For example, we'll write out a p tag here and use a color on the tag. So let's put a p tag. Let's say red. Now, in the tag we do style equals quotes, say color red, and end it with a semicolon. Now save it, go to our browser, say refresh, and you see we have red text then. Our next form of CSS we're going to look at is internal CSS. So we go back to our text editor, and in the head tags we add a new tag called style. Inside the style tag we also have to declare the type of tag it's going to be. So we had type text/CSS. So inside the style tags we choose the element we want to style. So we'll say the p tag. So we do p tag brackets. We give it a font size. So we will say 40 pixels. Hit Control and save. Go to the browser, refresh, and there you have it. Your font is now 40 pixels. Our last form of CSS is external CSS. So we'll go back to our text editor, and in our folder we'll add a new file. We'll save the file and call it style.css. The .css is the extension we use for style sheets. So we'll save it. And in style sheet we're going to select the p tag again. This time we're going to add a font family to the p tag. The font family I'm going to use is sans serif. So hit Control and save. Go to our browser, hit refresh, and you can see nothing has happened. This is because we have to go back to our text editor, and in our index file, inside the head tag, we have to add a new tag called the link tag. Now in the link tag we have three attributes: the relationship, the type, and its href. The relation type tells it is a style sheet. The type tells us that it's text and CSS, and the href is where the location of the style sheet is. So we just type style.css. We Control and save. We go back to our browser and refresh, and you can see we now have a new font on our p tag. Now that you know the three types of CSS there is, the big question now is, which type do you use? I would highly recommend using the external CSS. As the external, you can put all your CSS into one file and link it to each page on your website, whereas the inline style will only style that element you add the style to, and the internal style will only add the style to that page. So you're best using external CSS. So now we're going to look at fonts in the CSS. First of all, let's get rid of our different types of CSS and just use the external CSS. So in our CSS file we already have a font family on. So let's add font size. So we'll say font size, we'll say 40 pixels. And then we'll add a color. Say color, we'll say blue this time. Control and save. We'll go to our browser, refresh, and there we go. We now have it all in one file. Our next CSS element we're going to look at is borders. So let's go back to our browser, and in our style sheet, sort of tidy this up a wee bit. So we'll do sort of indent our elements a wee bit. So we say border. We indicate the size of the border we want. So we say 2 pixels. The type of border we want, we'll say solid. And the color border we want, we'll say red. Hit Control and save. Go to our browser, hit refresh. We have a border around our text now. So our next element we're going to look at is padding. Back to our browser, and here we'll say padding. Now, how much padding we need? We'll say 10 pixels by 20 pixels by 10 pixels by 20 pixels. Padding starts from top, right, bottom, and left. So, hit Control and save. Go to our page, refresh, and you can see that our text is moved inside the border. Padding is inside the border. There's also a short way of writing this here. So for instance, if our top and bottom are the same, and our left and right are the same, we can do it this way. Hit Control and save. Hit refresh. It's the same. Our next element we're going to look at is the margin. The margin is on the outside of the border. So go in here. Like the padding, it is the same as top, right, bottom, and left. So we'll say margin to be, we'll say 50 pixels, so we can see its effect. 50 by 20 pixels. Control and save. Go back to our page, refresh. You can see that was pushed down 50 pixels and over 20. The last 3 elements we've been talking about is also known as the box model: the border, the padding, and the margin. The margin is on the outside, the padding is on the inside around the element, and the border is just between the padding and the margin. The next form of CSS we're going to look at is an ID. An ID is a unique way of selecting an element and styling it. So let's go to our text editor and let's add 2 heading tags. So let's say H1, let's say heading 1, we'll put in another H1, let's say heading 1.1. So to add an ID, you go to the start of the element and you type ID and you give this a unique name. So let's call this color. You hit Control and save. You go to your style sheet. You do hash color brackets. So we add in our elements here. So we'll say color, give it green. We'll say font size to be 50 pixels. And we'll give it a wee border as well. Border 3 pixels dot it, and let's see yellow Control and save. Back to our browser, refresh. And there you can see we have our style on our first heading. Our next style element we're going to look at is the class element. So back to our browser, and inside our index we're going to do an unordered list. So let's take our allies and say item 1. Item 2. And we'll add another one here. We'll call this item 3. So in the element again, we'll say class, we'll say list, and then here, same again, we'll say list. The class is used for styling several elements together. So you could have a list where you have 5 elements, but you only want 4 of them styled. So this is how you would do this here. So we do down here. Instead of a hash, we use dot for class. So we say dot list. In here, add a color to it. We will say pink. Pink is probably not the best example to use. So we'll say a better one than that. We will say blue. We'll give it font size of 20 pixels. And we'll give it a wee padding of 10 pixels by 5 pixels. So if we hit Control and save, go to our browser, refresh, and you can see we have item 1, item 2, and item 3. Only 1 and 3 are style. This is how you use classes. So now you know the basics of CSS. Feel free to subscribe and leave comments down below. Thanks for tuning in with Digital Box 2.